All right, so I want to look at some baseball standings, primarily talking about both New York teams, the Yankees and the Mets. Let's go ahead and bring up some stats. It wasn't that long ago that both these teams were probably the top 3 teams in the league overall in baseball. Now they're just both struggling to make the playoffs, clinging to the last spots in the wild card at the moment. And if you didn't know, each division winner makes the playoffs, accompanied with 3 additional wild cards from both the AL and the NL. Yankees being in the AL, Mets being in the NL, both in the last and final wild card spots on each side of their leagues. I do think there's hope for each side. The Yankees had a lot of question marks last year before making it to the World Series. The Mets having a lot of talent, and even though they're struggling, I do think they're due to just break out. They have too good a roster not to eventually. They had lost 7 in a row coming into yesterday, where they finally beat the Braves to break that streak. But their last in OPS since the All-Star break, which is on-base percentage plus slugging percentage, not going to get into all that fancy baseball stat. And the average ERA of their starting rotation is at 5 right now. And if you're not a baseball person, that number is very high, not good. Meanwhile, the Yankees have their own pitching issues. Max Fried being one of the best pitchers in baseball, but lately hasn't looked that sharp. The Yankees bullpen seems to have an issue almost every day, but I do think that'll get figured out now that Bednar's there and Garber will be coming back as well as Cruz, so they might get a little more stable. The Yankees avoided a big injury scare with Aaron Judge. He hasn't been playing as good as he usually does, but I think he'll level out. The Yankees do have the easiest finishing schedule in baseball, but they gotta stop walking people. They've given up the most walks since the beginning of the month. Just can't have that for a team that's struggling. But looking at the standings as they are, Yankees in 3rd place in the division, behind Toronto and Boston. And in the wild card, Seattle being the highest ranked wild card, followed by Boston, then New York. Cleveland and Texas are right there, 2 teams I do worry about, but I do think the Yankees will hang in there. Looking at the Mets situation, they're in 2nd place in their division, the NL East, by 5 games behind Philadelphia. And as I said, they're in 3rd place in their wild card as well, behind San Diego and Chicago, the Cubs, with the Mets holding a 2-game lead over Cincinnati. I also think the Mets will be fine and also make the playoffs. I don't believe either the Yankees or the Mets will win their division. I do think they're both wild card entries. The Mets have a better roster to compete for a World Series if they do make that wild card spot, but the path for the Yankees to get there is a lot easier. There'll be a couple inexperienced teams in the AL for the Yankees to overcome, whereas the Mets are going to have to go through some of the best teams each year, like the Phillies, like the Dodgers. If you're a New York fan, I understand the fear. Trust me, I do think there are some things to worry about, but I do also believe that both teams will end up being in the playoffs.